Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. May peace be upon those who follow the guidance. Welcome to our Skill Educational Network. I'm your host, Skill Abdulaziz Muhammad TYRE al-Muslimun. My objective is not to be sarcastic towards any person, any group, or any entity. But my objective is to be in compliance to the rules of fairness and equity. If I say anything that is good, it is from Allah. And if I say anything that it is incorrect, it is either from myself or it's from Shaitan. Today's topic is the Scorpion Unit. The Scorpion Unit was a law enforcement unit in Memphis, Tennessee. It was established November the 15th, 2021, and it became infamous in the death of TYRE NICHOLS. TYRE NICHOLS was an African American. He was what is known as a foundational African American, meaning that he was born in America, his parents were born in America, and his ancestors perhaps goes back to the times of slavery. He died on January the 10th, 2023. He was 29 years old. He died 3 days after being beaten by 5 Memphis, Tennessee police officers during a traffic stop. The officers were fired on January the 20th, and on January the 26th they were arrested and charged with second-degree murder along with other charges. Now, the purpose of this video is to have you see this encounter, this traffic stop. If these people were Muslims, and if TYRE NICHOLS was a Muslim, maybe the encounter, maybe the interaction would not have escalated, because the term Scorpion Unit, it is an acronym, meaning that it says that street crime operations, it means street crime operations to restore peace in our neighborhoods. And I'll put emphasis on the letter P, because the letter P is an initial in this acronym and it refers to peace. So this Scorpion Unit, it was a unit, a police unit in Memphis to establish peace in the neighborhoods. Street crime operations to establish peace in our neighborhoods. That's the acronym of the word Scorpion Unit. So we know that, and maybe you may not be aware of the word Islam. Within the meaning of the word Islam, Salam, Islam, Aslama, within that meaning the word is peace. So if these police officers were Muslims, and we know that they were not Muslims, and we know that TYRE NICHOLS was a Muslim, if they were Muslims, maybe they would approach TYRE NICHOLS with the greeting of peace. Maybe they would have approached him by saying, Assalamu alaikum, may peace be with you. And TYRE NICHOLS would have responded, Wa alaikum salam, and to you be peace. Now, if that was the greeting, if that was the means of approach, then chances are this would not have escalated until up until this young man was murdered. It would not have escalated if you follow the teachings of Islam. So this is the purpose of this episode here. The Scorpion Unit, street crime operation to restore peace in our neighborhoods. The neighborhoods that is referred to as primarily Christian, predominantly neighborhoods. In Memphis, Tennessee, they had over 300 homicides within the last 2 years, and most of these homicides were Christians killing Christians. It wasn't Hindu killing Hindu. It wasn't Muslims killing Muslims. It wasn't Buddhists killing Buddhists. It was Christians killing Christians. So Christianity is not a religion of peace. An example of that is being in this Bible. This Bible, this book, this is the book where TYRE NICHOLS, I'm quite sure this word Bible was in his house. In Matthew 10 verse 34, Jesus allegedly said that I did not come to bring peace, but a sword, which means he's going to come and bring division. So Christianity, if you follow in the Bible, if you are a Christian, a so-called Christian, because Jesus never said to be a Christian. This word Christian was established in a place called Antioch, which is modern-day Turkey, and it came about by someone who was making mockery out of these people. If you go and do the research, even if you go to that town in Antioch, the historians will tell you that it was coined in derision. Derision, they called them Christians out of derision, which means they were making mockery. Somebody was making mockery out of them, and somehow another word Christian stuck, and now you have people around the world say they are Christian, but actually Jesus never told anybody to be Christians. They were all Muslims, if you have an understanding of the true history of that part of the world. So the Scorpion unit, this initial, it stands for peace. This is the acronym. Street crime operation to restore peace in our neighborhoods. And according to this book, Matthew 10:34, you're not going to have peace in your neighborhoods. So why believe in a faith where some of you are out protesting, saying no justice, no peace, but then you're part of a faith that's not about peace. It's about division. I did not come to bring peace, but a sword, according to what Jesus said in Matthew 10:34. So where the contradiction comes in at, you want peace, but then you reject this book, the Quran, which established peace. It has the teachings of peace more than any belief system on the planet. If you know the 10 different aspects of peace, one of them being the greeting, Assalamu alaikum, may peace be with you, wa alaikum salam, and you be peace. There's more to that, but this is the religion of peace, along with forgiveness, along with charity, along with being patient. You also can defend yourself in this faith. You also stand up for justice in this faith. There's a lot to this, but one of the main components is that if you want peace and contentment, this is the way that you should go. You should learn this book and the example of the Prophet Muhammad, because the Prophet Muhammad, may peace be upon him, he was the walking Quran. He was the physical example of how to establish peace in this earth. You're not going to be able to establish peace with the Scorpion unit. Why? Because Allah said in the Quran, in chapter 5, verse 14, in the Quran, you can read this in the Yusuf Ali translation. Allah is basically saying, he took a covenant with the Christians, but they forgot the covenant. He made a contract with them. He made an agreement with them, but forgot it. So in doing so, because the Christians, people, you don't follow the covenant, he said that I will put enmity and hatred between you all up into the day of judgment. So we Muslims, by us believing in the Quran, we know that you're going to have enmity and hatred between you all up into the day of judgment. You see the homicides that goes on in the Christian community. You see the history of apartheid in South Africa. There was enmity. You see the Jim Crow laws that happened in America for over 86 years. The enmity between Christians, white Christians and black Christians. You see the enmity between the Protestants and the Catholics. You see the enmity with the Jehovah's Witnesses. The Jehovah's Witnesses have enmity towards all you Christians who are not a Jehovah's Witness. You see the enmity which you are with the Republicans and the Democrats. Is enmity and hatred, enmity and hatred, enmity and hatred, enmity and hatred. This is well established. And Allah says in the Quran, in chapter 5, verse 14, that he will put enmity and hatred between you all up until the day of judgment. So you will never have peace. So you can get out there, and I'm not trying to be sarcastic. You've been out here protesting, no justice, no peace, no justice, no peace. But then when the contradiction comes in at, you don't look at the 5 police officers as being Christians, and you don't say that Jesus died for their sins. You don't say that Jesus died for the sins of the 5 police officers that killed TYRE NICHOLS. So if Jesus died for the sins of the police officers that killed TYRE NICHOLS, that means that they're going to heaven. That means they've been saved. And then at the same time, if TYRE NICHOLS was a Christian, that means that Jesus died for his sins, and he's going to heaven. So they both going to heaven based on the teachings of the church, this thing called vicarious atonement, where you can transfer your wrongdoings over to someone else, and the person that committed the wrong, they're not held accountable for the actions. And that doesn't make any sense. And we know that the crucifixion is a pagan story. You may not be aware of that, But we Muslims know that it's a pagan story, and we can share that with you. I've shared a little bit of that in one of my previous videos. If you look at all of my videos on Oscar Educational Network, you will see where I give you the information where you can do further research on this pagan concept. So the Scorpion unit, it's unfortunate that TYRE NICHOLS lost his life. Your ancestors were Muslims when they came over here. They were converted to Christianity. The object of converting them to Christianity was not to save them, but to make them better slaves. This was written and established by a man named Charles Coker Jones. Charles Coker Jones was a Presbyterian minister, and he wrote a book called How to Make a Negro a Christian. And I've showed that book in one of my previous videos. So it never was about salvation. It was about you becoming more obedient to the people who was oppressing you for the last 4 years. If you are an African American or a black person who is a Christian, wherever you may be on this earth, you've been oppressed by these people who bought you this book. They bought you this book. You had a land, and they bought you this book. And after 50 years, they had your land, and then you had this book. You didn't have your land. It's called colonization. So again, TYRE NICHOLS, it's unfortunate. My condolences goes out to his family. They say he was a nice young man, great young man. It's unfortunate that it happens, but we Muslims, we are inviting you to the religion of peace, along with forgiveness and charity and all that which is good. We invite you to this way of life, and if you embrace this way of life, teach your children this way of life, then maybe when you have police officers in the next 20, 25, 30 years, and if everybody's Muslim, maybe these police officers will come and make a traffic stop, and they would see this person as a believer, and they would say, Assalamu alaikum, and the person would say, Wa alaikum salam, and that in of itself will diminish the escalation. It will not escalate to calling this person TYRE NICHOLS names and MFs and GDs and all that type of stuff. If they were Muslims, the greeting would have been Assalamu alaikum, and TYRE NICHOLS would have said Wa alaikum salam, and they may have said Kaifa halik, which means how you doing, and TYRE NICHOLS would have said Alhamdulillah, all praise is due to Allah. So until next time, Assalamu alaikum.